Welcome back to explore a unique and extraordinary history of a World Heritage listed Port Arthur historical site. Port Arthur is a best preserved convict site in Australia. Port Arthur is operated between 1830 and 1877. From 1833, Port Arthur is designated punishment prison for reoffending convicts. Almost half of the convicts sent to Australia by British ended up what is now known as Tasmania. Just under 13,000 convicts ended up here in Port Arthur. Most of these convicts are poor from the rural areas of Britain or from the slums of the big cities. One among the four where women and children were also transported. Port Arthur is 90 minutes drive from southeast Hobart, located in very beautiful surroundings of Tasmanpeninsula. There is a site entry ticket which covers site access and 20 minutes harbour cruise for 2 consecutive days. There are stores and cafes inside the site where you can relax and have a nice coffee. The site is built on almost 100 acres with 30 buildings and ruins to explore. The whole colony is a laboratory for the ideas of different methods of punishments. The penitentiary, or a main prison shown here, has commenced between 1854 and 1857. The lower floors housed about 136 prison cells. The ground floor housed men with heavy irons and the first floor with lighter irons. The dormitory on upper floor housed around 348 men in basic bunk style beds. The prison cells looked very small and narrow, just makes us realize how difficult it would have been for each convict to live in these cells. The site displays the stories of the convicts and also the circumstances of the situations. The convicts brought here were put to work in very hard conditions. Over 47 years of operation, Port Arthur was an experimental playground for convict system. I had an opportunity to work in a modern prisons recently, and hence I was connecting to Port Arthur's history and the convict system. And of course, I can see a huge shift in the rules around convict system and the punishments. Port Arthur was engaged in shipbuilding and timber trading, which helped in the early settlement, and a lot of these convicts were engaged in hard, heavy works. We then moved on to the next building, which is Commandant's House and Law Courts, which served as home to rules and regulations of these settlements. The soldiers were responsible for security of the site and capturing escaped convicts. These soldiers lived in the officers' quarters along with their families. The government cottages built around beautiful surroundings and gardens. The site displayed some preserved items. The history over 200 years ago of convict system and early settlement is very interesting. There is a lot of walking involved, and to make sure you are comfortable, wear a nice comfortable clothing and footwear. The more time you spend here, the more you learn. In late 1840s, a new way of punishment was introduced at Port Arthur, from harsh physical punishment to more psychological punishment. Each of these men were put in a prison for 23 hours a day and only 1 hour of exercise after breakfast. The name separate prison is definitely understood by the rules set up here. It is a quiet prison where absolute silence should be maintained between the convicts and even the guards. Isolation is a very harsh punishment and is a method of making the convicts reflect on what they've done and giving them some time to think about how they can improve to their life. In one of the convict record book, we come across this word Hyderabad, which is a ship's name. Okay, who's a convict here? Aryan. What did you do, Aryan? He asked the judge. And Dad is a witness. Dad is a witness. You made too much of noise. Okay? And Dad is a witness. What is the punishment, judge? In a separate prison, he should be in 14 years. There are beautiful gardens around and there's a lot of walking required. So please make sure you wear comfortable footwear and lots of water to drink. We then walked towards our 20 minutes harbour cruise, which takes us around to the other connected sites to Port Arthur. A new innovation, a British first prison for boys as reforming institution named as Point Per has commenced. Boys as young as 10 were transported to Port Arthur as convicts. They were too small and frail to conduct hard, heavy jobs which are carried out in the main prison. Young offenders were separated from the old convicts to protect them from criminal influence. It was very refreshing and relaxing to stand on the cruise and watch the surroundings and enjoy the scenes. We then sighted a small island, and the name of this island is the Isle of the Dead. Between 1833 and 1877, around 1100 people were buried at the settlement cemetery. The Isle of Dead is a final resting place for not only for the convicts but also military officers, their wives and the children. We learned that the convicts, who are men, mostly died from the hard, heavy jobs conducted in the forest and doing the timber work. And the women, who are convicts, died from the childbirths and other women-related problems. There is an option for you to explore the Isle of Dead, but you need to make sure you pay for the ticket at the site entrance. The cruise then turned back and we started seeing the main prison here in Port Arthur. There are many other small sites which can be shown and learned whilst being in the cruise. Personally, I felt that it is greatest challenge to interpret the Port Arthur's convict system and also changing people's perception of convict life and convict system. Each individual convict has different story of life and different circumstances, and it is important to understand they are also humans. And it is also important to recognize those officers, soldiers and guards who left their land to serve their country, has finally rested in Tasmania and did not had a chance to go back to their families. Thank you for your time in watching this video. Hope it was interesting and engaging. In the next video, we will explore the Bruny Island, which is another day trip from Hobart. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.